For over a decade, Under the Same Sun has been fighting for the rights of albinos in Tanzania. The NGO helps those who have been brutally attacked by people who believe albino body parts can bring wealth and good luck. On the black market, a limb of a person with albinism can fetch $5,000, an entire body hundreds of thousands. Mariam Stamford is one such victim. Sometimes I have nightmares about people cutting off my hands. But I thank God that these kinds of nightmares happen so rarely now. Her assailants have never been prosecuted. Crimes against people with albinism are often not fully investigated. That's why Henry Umdimu is working to increase awareness, one person at a time.
The start of the 21st century saw a widespread breakout in albino hunting. According to official information, dozens of white-skinned victims were reported killed every year. But the real number is likely to be much higher, considering that many of the attacks were never reported to or recorded by the police. The victimization always followed the same pattern.
Women and children with albinism are particularly vulnerable to abduction and killings by criminal gangs that may include even close relatives who see them as soft targets.
Basi chimene chinachitika netanyamuka kupita kumunda nasi hapo anaoka pa kumupano ndege na kabasi anabwera nyamata mwana mmozi ndikumamenya kuti amuyingise ndege na kamwana wina yawa mmanja anamugwira ndikumamuthamangisa kena kanathamangidwa kumunda anthu anabwerapo kena kanamuthamangisa nyamata uja mwana uja anamponyera pachire anthu anamutola nyamata anamuthamangisa pakana anamugwira atamugwira anthu anamutenga pa ku polisi atamutenga kupita nawo ku polisi pakana afika kuzomba amayiwo anabadwa amayi amozi ndiye amayi amene aina wakuluwo zukulu wawo ineyo khala ngati alongwanga abererina Agnes ndipo mtima wako mamuthamanga nthawi imene ku sukulu so makana ulo ku chigayo so makana mtima wako makhala wonjenjemera.
Amnesty International believes that the Malawi authorities' initial response to the abduction and killing of people with albinism was more of a knee-jerk reaction, and they failed to end the violence against this marginalized group.
In Malawi, even parents, real parents are involved in the attacks or involved in setting up the gangs to attack people with albinism. The biggest gap was parents couldn't really understand why we are white in a majority of black society.
This is the Namigambo family. The little boy, who is 4, survived an attempted kidnap when he was just 3 months old. The mother managed to escape to safety by jumping out of the window. The family says more should be done by the government.
I plead with the government to keep on helping us as it did in the past, when they offered seminars telling the community that these are normal children, just like any other. They only lack some elements in their pigmentation. Those seminars helped a few understand the challenges of living with albinism.
To be born in Africa, and if you have a different color in Africa, especially white, and you are there for thousands of thousands, those who are black, really is an issue. Many people didn't understand well about albinism. People thought that I am ghost, and sometimes people thought I'm less human beings.
It's really pathetic, unheard of, and something we never thought that it can really happen amongst us, and it has really raised fear. And imagine the thought to say, what do I do? Should I lock up in my house? Why should people hunt me like they're hunting for animals to eat?
And my friends and even the other elder people in the community call me bad names, and others would actually stop and look at me to say, why is he white? At that time, I was so young, I could not even explain why I'm white.
There are also kind of beliefs that we don't live longer, we die, we are like ghosts, we just disappear. So as such, employers will not be ready to get you into employed because they think that 1 or 2 days after, then you just disappear.
It's because you're different.
Yeah.
And people, because of your difference, they start having ideas. One of the ideas is the myth that says people with albinism do not die, they just disappear. Another myth is when you have a sexual intercourse with a person with albinism, your HIV status is cured. Another myth is that when you drink blood of a person with albinism, then you'll be supernatural, you'll have luck. And we even go to an extent where Tanzania was killed and our body parts are chopped and they are taken as luck to our witch doctors. The fear is that we're different. And most of the time, our parents are normally pigmented, and it comes like a surprise to them when you are at the labor ward and this bouncy little baby bonds with you, then the baby is different. That's the main thing, because people with albinism lack melanin in their skin, in their eyes, and in their hair. So when parents receive this baby, they are not told before to say there is a possibility of you having a child with albinism, because there is no genetic testing. So always it's a surprise to the mother.
People with albinism are normal just like us, but they just don't have this component of melanin. That's why their skin color is different from a black person. They deny, they say the woman has slept maybe with a Caucasian. They don't accept the child because they do not understand. So it's all about lack of knowledge and ignorance. So if our country would take the time to educate the people about this condition, then this can be altogether prevented.
Attacks against persons with albinism are fueled by ignorance. They think that persons with albinism are not human. If there is any disaster, there is drought, floods, hurricanes, they are blamed for that. They tell their clients that bones and other organs of persons with albinism, if mixed with a magic potion, will make them successful, will make them win elections, will make their businesses boom, and they will help even in their love affairs.
For 18 years, Vicky had been a radio reporter at BBC Africa. In 2008, she risked her life in this award-winning report, posing undercover as a local businesswoman looking to buy albino body parts. After facing death threats, she went into hiding, forced to disguise herself like this. Eventually, she left journalism altogether.
The last straw was when the police told me that if you continue to report, you'll be killed, and we're not going to be there to protect you.
Advocacy, the Albinism Society is more than 21 years. We've been advocating, if you remember well, and we've been teaching. And in biology, there is a chapter on genetics. But people tend to turn a blind eye. And when it suits them, we are fine, we are clever. When it suits them, we are a blessing. But when it suits them again, they will say, no, they are a curse. In other families, people are taken as a curse. In other families, people even hunt people. When you look at the situation in Tanzania and the situation in KZN, because people of our borders being thinning, the lady who has advocated on killing Tandazile has ran away into Mozambique. What does that mean to us? So people are living in fear now in South Africa.
Like most albinos, Mumsy is unemployed. Her skin colour diminishes her chances of getting a job. Even though she hasn't got any money, Mumsy comes into the city to the office here to get help. Here, albinos can feel comfortable around each other.
Why are you here? Don't you know how bad it is for you to stand out in the sun for such a long time?
I know, but I'm alone and need money to live.
Many people with albinism are poor, and they are being discriminated from the society. And sometimes you can see even this guy whom he was begging.
This is where I live. It's my corner. Do you want to see where I sleep?
A tiny 2-square-meter spot of land in the open air is what 50-year-old Saeed calls home. For 3 years, he's been forced to live with his sister and at her expense because he can no longer find work. Saeed has become virtually disabled simply by the color of his skin.
It was in 2010. I was collecting dry branches from the forest when two Maasai men came up and asked if I had any tobacco. I did have some with me, and when I bent down to pick up my tobacco, they hit me on the back of my head with a stick. They hit me 3 times, 2 strikes to the back of my head, and then they punched me in the face. I was knocked out, and when I came round, I saw that my left hand was gone.
The education will minimize, will remove these barriers which now we are facing means discrimination. If the community will agree to support people with albinism in the education field. But if not education, for sure, this group is still behind of the world. My blood and your blood, it doesn't mean that if I cut here, maybe my blood will be blue or yellow. Not. My color has forced me to be a refugee in my home country because of my color. What I'm looking as Josephat, I'm looking for a justice.
Ash is a millionaire Vancouver businessman and former Baptist minister. But most importantly for Tanzania's albinos, he's their loudest and boldest defender. For the past 2 years, through his organization Under the Same Sun, Ash has been working towards one goal: ending the slaughter of Tanzanian albinos.
It's dehumanizing, right? That's why I had to get involved here. I mean, I couldn't imagine if someone tried to break into my home and, attack my son in the middle of the night, or came after me and wanted to chop my arm off. It's a complete dehumanization.
As a child, Ash himself experienced teasing and beatings, but his first visit to Tanzania in 2008 gave him a personal taste of how much worse it is here.
Colleagues on the bus told me that they overheard people walking by or driving by on the downtown streets in Mwanza shout out upon seeing us, "Deal, deal." This is a phrase that's commonly used in certain parts of Tanzania when persons with albinism walk down streets. In other words, if I were to kill you and get your body parts, I could make a deal. I could get a lot of money. So deal, deal has almost become a descriptive phrase or a name for albinos. That you are a deal. If I chopped you up and sold you, I'd be wealthy.
A recent survey found that 93% of Tanzanians believe in witchcraft. That was the highest rate of any country polled around the world. But on some levels, the results from Ash's advocacy have been disappointing. The government still largely treats the issue as an embarrassment it would rather ignore. Albino attacks are handled with wariness by the legal system.
There's clearly only been 2 cases of the 55 murders that have been prosecuted through the courts to the extent that a conviction was handed down. So there's still 53 murder cases that have not reached conviction, and 6 other attacks that didn't result in death haven't reached conviction. So, I mean, it's a fraction. It took us, 2 years to get 2 convictions. So the wheels of justice seem to be grinding quite slowly.
After 2 years of visits and lobbying, the attacks still continue, but Ash sees progress.
Come to the rescue. And this is one thing I think our campaign is resulting in. One trend we've noticed in the last year is we're hearing several cases now of attacks without death. 6 of them, right? Which, although discouraging, the attacks are continuing. The fact that they're not all being killed, and almost always the reason is that villagers come to the rescue. And so that tells me there's a current of good people in Tanzania who are saying enough is enough.
For now, that gives hope enough to keep this Canadian albino fighting for his brothers and sisters here under the African sun.